Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. So last night I finally got around to looking at the old Server 3 forum map thread, and I finally found a reference to where oven post was the only thing that had a coordinate, was in relation to other things. It's right about down here. So that was related to some of this stuff they're talking about, road this way towards Zatras and oven post. So I finally found that. No, it looks a little bit different down there. So I started playing with the image overlay, and then started doing software render. We can change the colors really easily. So now I've got this like old map. What I really like to do is set this up so when you're in this map and on server 3, then you sort of get this little Easter egg. It's interesting how dark it looks without having some of the other colors in there to balance it out. So I've got this sort of prototype in here, and I guess I might want to even like checkpoint that. And then work on passing information over. There's also some other cleanup I need to do on some of that stuff. Like I don't think this. I think this is for faded and not faded, which I think I've got hooked in other ways now. Nope. Maybe we need you later. Maybe we don't. Allergies hitting her. Alright, I need a compiler going. Yeah. Now when do we send? Okay. Oh, we don't anymore. Okay. So that's just a placeholder in case we need to do stuff otherwise. And I do, however, need a way to do a little FYI about the current server. And arguably, you could also do a thing where this selection informs the time used to select the default layer here. Alright, so base overlay. Okay, so that's cosmetic stuff. Point colors for sending? And that was type point color. Oh, we have to know how to talk about servers. Do I ever send us? I do send a server list. So we should be able to talk in IDs, and I will have to identify that. Server list. Do I not send that anymore? Oh, I don't. Select server. Select server, just server. So it's a complete server object is what we've got there. So we have an encode servers. What else did we? Oh, a whole data. Does expose type server. It does expose the server encoder. Yeah, it'll be a little bit of Elm. Then we'll move back. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. No one's been streaming it, and I'm usually doing once a week. I did finally get around to updating a server that might be able to run it if I need to compare something. So, I mean, there's looks good, and there's plays good, which might be two different things. Yeah, I don't know if we'll have time, but I kind of wanted to play around with something where you define certain things by the like height map or whatever, and then in the band area you like did another fractal layer to do variation in there, so it wasn't quite as bandy. I don't know if I'll have time for that. Oh, I don't even receive that anymore? I guess I just forgot to remove it. What's nice about them? Are they smaller? Oop. Alright, so before I had that... Yeah. Ah. So the only way, if we really want to talk about server 3, you're going to have to compare the name. Console.log. Let's make sure we understand how this shows up on this side. But to do that, we have to send it. So when we select server, we want to send... kind current server, server. There's some people playing on server 3. Server name. So right now, all I care about is it server 3? I don't have a server list here currently. I guess the level I'm doing things right now, I could actually say it is the ID match. Because otherwise we have to do a string match. And I actually do need to look at that color thing again sometime. Somebody was saying that they weren't seeing the color effect on the Elm site. I could say left equals. Actually, I could just say starts with. Okay, server 3. Guess it'll be easier to just track current server for now. Do we have any? I don't really have a lot of state information. I'm going to tend to default to that. And I might need to I need to know the current time. If we just change that, we only have one time dimension, right? All right, we'll look into that in a little bit. By time. All right, this is, you could do this as a chain, but is really a sub thing. We don't have anything that actually, and that resets the time. Okay, that did reset the time, but it didn't recognize it here. Oh, but I specifically selected the layer. That wasn't a time-based selection. And this isn't old enough. Or it turns off the rift. Oh, I don't have my data server hooked up. Or do I? Yeah. So why is this showing 728? Did I hit show? Server ID. Oh, actually there was just nothing here. I'm going before the first time. But that's not Badlands Age. I should probably be fetching less data for this purpose. Now, why is that showing Arctic? All right, so no, we have to be in an older server. Okay, 152.1.2, 152.0.4.6. Arctic was before. Oh, Arctic Age may have been. I missed that. I saw the radio come in, or the desert update come in. When did the Arctic update come in? It should just be a little bit, because they were still talking about the. Oh, that's right. The Arctic update. He didn't do a world reset. So technically, this could have still semi-existed. The scene areas would have remained there until they got wiped. Maybe that was the same for desert too. I don't remember. Or at least the object, but I don't know. Well, there was a biome cache. Although when jungle went in, the biome changed, and the object, some of the objects stayed, which is really wonky. And then on any other server, we're there. All right, so we do have a concept of a current time. Or the time of the currently displayed data. However, when did we determine Arctic Age was? Oh, 331. No, start of Arctic Age. Oh, geez. So that was their original map image, but it kind of continued into the Arctic Age. Yeah, I'd need scene tile information to process that. I mean, I guess you could sort of like put this map over the Arctic map, and it would be sort of representative of the active areas versus the inactive areas. The problem is that since that stuff was there up until a later time, so you know, you've got all this stuff that probably correlates to that. Will this start the spirals? But binding it into the layer like that, and then Desert Cane 331, which is a more reasonable point at which that map probably came to an end. All right, because it's still this, and which would arguably mean I would need that color scheme for the other thing. Well, actually, well, there's a little bit of stuff happening in the old places. I guess this was Oven Post. Well, 8 March is the day. That constrains the time more than I originally expected for this. Oh, yeah, because that closely corresponds to when LifeLog started. Oof. Yeah, you can see activity around some of the towns. All right. However, I kind of wanted to make that not a completely separate thing. So that gets some semi-automatic switching. We've got that. And then what I want to do is try and configure so we want to do something with you where we have like a generic Badlands age, and then we have this, and we set Badlands age to be a layer group. We have So this becomes kind of a little sub-problem of... Actually, no, this is... Depending on our current server selection, we just swap this layer out, and if it's in the map, it's... Well, hopefully it manages that. So actually, the by time doesn't deal with this directly. And when we get current server, I don't even necessarily need to keep that around. If don't know what I messed up there. If dot has layer, all right, if it's this is a little bit of a target layer situation again. Actually, I think this might have been out, but oh, this isn't by name. This is an actual layer. And it is server 3. Did I call it Badlands layer or Badlands age? Badlands age. Is this better? I guess it's a simple either or. If and we could just assume this is binary, not to have to test both of them. So if it has layer, because I'm just assuming it has this method. Yep, has layer. Has layer server 3. Then we're good. So really we want to say server 3 and remove layer Badlands age. And then else And current server, don't need right now. Okay, assignment on Badlands Age. Oop. T is null. Well, we're going to need some help on that one. Oh, and we have to switch over to leaflet source. Although I guess really the stack trace is what I was looking for. Layers control. Oh, did I not remove the placeholder for that? Okay, we compiled. Why? What are we loading? Maybe the debugger is still paused. Yeah, okay, it was still paused from the previous run. Alright, so we don't have that layer there anymore, but if we go into... I can't even get that time selection until we're here. That should be different data, but it takes a little bit to get it. Yeah. Oh, it's like there were rings, but a lot more of them. Alright, well, that's... I might kind of want to do a live feed from here on the base layers, but we've got brand new maps that we might want to be able to show soon. So I did that. I wanted to get it in there somewhere. But I do want to move on. Yeah, and there's like no way to actually show this once Arctic Age happens, or to show what the world actually looked like, because we don't know what parts were remembered, what parts were forgotten. All right, one life. Shoot, I was looking at the actual code, which means I have to resolve this merge before I can do stuff with the repository. Oh, this is game source. Yeah, so he added stuff, I added stuff. What is both modified? I don't think I saw any conflict marks, so we kind of got it solved, we just didn't have it committed. Now this is not actually current, but we do have to resolve this up to that point. And actually, if I was ever going to use this again, I do have to actually merge upstream. And this was just a general update. This was actually before any significant changes. Now this doesn't have my debugging code right now. Actually, no, I must have done something with it. Maybe it was a different branch. But what we really need right now, let's look at our new methods. I can add that close down. I think this is all map. It wouldn't have been any fractal stuff. Can I do this? Calculate, compute, map biome index, and there's compute map biome index old. New code topographic rings. Get base map, going to call that a couple of times actually, which is probably why he changed the name of it. But we actually do have to manage multiple versions of all of these things. So I'm not going to worry about base map right now much. So this is actually like exactly the same, except for which version of the function we call. Which makes it tempting to just make that a parameter. Don't know how that works for the base map though. I don't know if I want to like make a whole new layer that's hit cast, topographic altitude mapping. Oh, we've got all the new settings for this version of it. Okay, so this is all the test code. So it actually ends up being simpler code, and it does a lot less execution at that. I just have to figure, because like so much of this is going to be the same. Like how you render it is all the same. But unlike JSON, I have to be able to render maps from both versions. So he called this compete to create patchwork. So we're going to be able to use some bits of this. That was other stuff. Okay. So for now, base map is just going to use that one. And this might make things more inefficient, so I might have to evaluate that. Need to get so that should not break anything. Yep. Options.compute map biome index is not a function. So what the heck? Object. Okay, so it must be doing prototype on this? No, prototype. Oh, I just did options. What the heck is options? Oh, and we still got our print. And that's all images. But the ones near here, yeah, still have this old similar patterns. All right, so that slightly abstracts that. So we have topo, and this is going to need some support stuff at some point. All right, so we're not going to have a mapped value. We are going to have a picked biome, but we're just going to be able to initialize it somewhere. Oh, well, he's initializing it from that. Else cache miss. So this is just the base seed. Yes. Biome offset, biome scale. So we don't need that. We are going to need roughness at some point. Oh wait, scale. No, yeah, that's the scale. It's not the same as the seed. There's no per biome seeding. There is no biome seed scale, or it's all biome 0, depending on how you look at it. Roughness scale is still based on number. of biomes. Push into range 0, 1 based on sampled min-max values. I guess since it's kind of a sum of fractals, sure. Maybe it doesn't hit the peaks. So there's none of. Oh, how does. Okay, so there is a. Well, second place equals picked biome minus 1. Oh. This is just kind of, I guess, a temporary thing to make all the old code work. So so you're going to always have a small chance of second place spawns for one biome adjacent. Not. Yeah, you probably could have at least done. You could have calculated something for that, but he hasn't yet. All right. So we have Ranvel. We have. I guess it's gonna be a sort of a second place loop at some point. Six. All right. Various experiments. Now, biome total weight and biome cum weight are things we don't have yet. Biome weights, and then cumulative weight. Biome weight list. This does have a definite biome order list. Now, interestingly enough, this is picking indexes. So for that to work as a drop-in replacement, he had to pick biome indexes that don't necessarily match the biome numbers. Maybe. All right, biome order. Does this look anything like my biome map? Well, no, it's not going to look like my biome map. So we're just going to have one of these for now. Which I guess could actually be in place because it doesn't have to be variable. Good a place as any. Settings, biome weights. These need to go, or really should go in the biome layer. So we've got biome colors. Biome map. Biome order. Biome weights. Yeah, I'm already passing options to my functions. However, we need to do some condensed versions of this. So doing this in startup will be a little bit of duplicate calculation. Do we have a startup? We have create tile. Bring to front. Extension methods, create tile. I don't feel like these are extension methods. Does layer have extension methods? Extension methods on add. All right, so I guess I should pre-calculate this stuff. It would be kind of nice just to be able to give it raw values, but I don't have like a startup function. Oh, yeah, in case it's not in the list. And it's being a hard set equal, so that's fine. We do still need the index. And cumulative weights. Total weight. And then that's what we actually need to be able to use when we go into biome layer. Hey, Benope, how's it going? Yeah, because that's the things we're actually going to need. Actually, eliminate all that stuff. What's the output for this? I don't have the output for this yet. It's a new layer I have to add. I could probably go look up a forum post that has the new one. But I am generating all of these maps for various versions of the game. And the algorithm has undergone a significant transformation to more of a topographic banded thing. So now we have to implement that. And this actually appears in our function. Yes, it does. So interestingly enough, biome total weight is also the value at the end of the array. Don't know if that really helps, but well, it does let us assign one value if we end up swapping these. All right, default values, topographic, map biome. So we need to pick we only need this once per pass. And then we have our picked biome, which does default to 0 now. We do have a num biomes. We might go through this enough to make it worth doing a var. This isn't a function, so that might be able to override the global. At the moment, they're the same, so it's okay. Actually, you would just use a shorter name here. Did I hit caps lock? Okay. And all right, and then this was all the stuff doing second place before. Oop. So this is a little bit hacked in here. I don't necessarily need a... So what's second place biome for me? I don't necessarily need a separate step here. And we'll have to reference into this object a little bit extra. Biome equals picked biome minus 1 if Oh, so it's only at the bottom that you can reflect up to the other adjacent biome. It doesn't wrap around per se. I mean, I guess wrapping around would be kind of silly the way things are set up. I don't know. Maybe he'll do something better with this after the idea gets proven out. Okay. So now we need to set up. We've got our arc 1. Right, that uses this actually. So we're going to have a testing layer. Which is not going to be anything yet, because we have to get down to where we've defined all that stuff. Which is going to be... See, Jungle Age is different. Desert Age... this is going to be like the Arcs layer. A little bit. Okay, so we just defined that up front. Oh, that has an arc seed though, so we're just gonna, until we get a seed, and it might actually these will in fact be a kind of arc layer at some point. We just don't have any of the arc information yet. I mean, this will even just be the default seed here. The big thing we have to change here is the compute topographic map biome index. And for testing purposes, biome total weight is not defined. Oh. Which one did I get out of sync with the other code? Biome total weight. That seems to not go so well. All right, topographic map biome index. Pick biome 0. All right, seed, randval. Now this is going to be per pixel. May be able to do something to just abort. So we do need to tag this. So that should hopefully stop each tile trying to process stuff. So we do that, we scale it, weighted. Oh. And then we misnamed this. Okay. There's still some nans in there, though. Weighted nan. Options.biome total weight, biome total weight, biome total weight, biome total weight, options.biome total weight. We're getting it into options. Nope, this dot options, which is probably, yep. Oh no, this is here it's passed, so we don't need this. Okay, so it is doing options by prototype. So biome total weight. Oh, he got it really close to 1. So what the heck? Why are we going nan? Oh, wait, maybe it hadn't reloaded. I don't see any nans here. Huh, I actually picked a couple of times there. Maybe the exceptions were slightly asynchronous. I may have to come back to these. Okay, so certain things are getting outside of range here. And that doesn't look quite right, because we're getting green in what I think are supposed to be the mountains. I'm going to have to look and see if he changed the way the biome index is handled. So colors V is undefined, probably because we're going outside of our weight range. But that's going to happen in very particular places. We can catch one of them. We can see what V is to see if it's going above or below. V is undefined. Oh, right. If this picks an appropriate value, then it's going to go through the biome map and not be happy. Although it shouldn't be able to pick an appropriate value. This is where I want to actually see. Are there any other changes? Topographical placement. Output map biome image. Discovered biomes. No, I don't see any other changes to the way he's using biome index. So we have to break this down. So I've already got an I. Well, actually, I do need to see this specifically in the error case here. Oop. Do we have to go again? Unexpected token. Oh, right, we copied that. Yeah, there is no biome index 7, which means we were probably able to pick... Huh. Why am I not seeing typographic? Less than options num biomes. Did I mistype that, or did Jason mistype that? Oh, I missed the little sanity check at the end. The thing is, actually, would less than do that? If it's less than, it can go up. Yeah, you'd have to instead say options num biomes -1. Should have the same effect. Technically, it's doing a little extra math in the loop, I guess. Oh. What is it now? Are we like -1? Or it can't be -1, right? Or do I have to, having stopped before, do I have to start again? Oh, topographic map biome. Oh, and then I completed it. Auto-completed it here. Graphic. Okay. Don't have that overhead in there. All right, so now our map biome indexes are messed up. Which is interesting because I copy-pasted them essentially. And it didn't look like he was using the indexes any differently. Biome order. All right. So let's think about what biome order means. And this is where I probably do want to get... was it this thread he was posting all this stuff? That was a variation. Okay, well, this is a map. that may be representative. I think he posted another one in Discord later that might be more representative of the final solution. So his biome map order, as actually implemented, is okay. I believe one is swamp in, well, the early ones actually sort of match up better. 0 is green. 2 is, I think it is plains. Where's the... So I know 0 is grass. I think 1 is water. Yeah. 2 is plains. Then he wants 6. Jungle. Okay, jungle. Then he wants 5. Desert. Jungle, desert. And then 3, because of the order they're added, would be mountain, and then Arctic, desert, jungle. Okay, so this is the named biome indexes. So somewhere I missed a translation to the other biome. It's the biome order. Get element direct I. Biome order list. B equals biome order list. Get element I. Biome list. Yeah, so he remaps the biome order list up front. And then backs up one step to process it again? Oh, because he's taking stuff out of here. Oh, he's saying if it's not there, if it's not in the biome list, remove it. But that's not actually doing the remapping? So discover the list of regular biomes. That will be this thing. Remove anything from the order that's not in there. Add any discovered biomes. I don't see... I mean, this could be triggering a bunch somehow and causing some sort of effective reordering. But this gives it a default weight, which would wash that out. So from what I could tell, compute map biome index is being used in the same way it has always been. Oh, and there's biomes, picked biome. Where are you? Get map biome index. Right, which did the whole wrapper around. That, but, is that picked biome? Or second place biome goes through the biomes map. Picked biome doesn't? Unless I missed that in the changelog. Why would second place? So we've got print biome samples. We've got get map biome index, which is the this is get map biome index. So this is doing through all that stuff. Picked biome. Picked biome. It's grid placement, I think. Last check biomes. This is get base map. Output map biome index map. Okay, well this will also tell us something about the order he's using. Well, get element direct, object colors. It's all natural map. This is output all natural map IDs. Yeah, get map biome index. So most things will be calling this, unless he swapped them out. So biome order appears to be a list of the nominal biome IDs. Okay, biome order is not... actually, what does biome order do? I don't think I used that properly. B equals, if it's not in the biome list, remove it. Add it to the order list. Oh wait, biomes. What do you use that for? So there may have been a code change there I wasn't really paying attention to. Biomes. Oh, biome. So that does take over the map, essentially. So when we do a topographic layer, we have to do biome order. Well, that certainly looks more pleasing. I can start to see people are talking about maybe too many bears. feels like a lot of mountain. I mean, I know it's a thin bit. So I got a desert, jungle, mountain. Now, whether this it has any at all relationship to the maps Jason's generating is yet to be determined. We don't know what seed he was using here. It certainly seems to be different than this one. Well, at least we're only doing the fractal once, so it's a lot faster to process now. I'm wondering... It almost feels like my frequency is backwards relative to his. But I guess you can find areas where you get similar Arctic density. If he's running this in with sort of the standard setup, it would pick a random seed and run with that. So unfortunately, I don't have any good way to get directly comparable results. Well, I could... One thing I could do is I did try building a server where I did try to force the seed. I could see if that matches up. However, that is going to take a little bit of building, or a little bit of file copying and setting up, and I have to... I may have to make sure my game's up to date too. So why don't I take a break, get some water, and try to make sure my test environment is set up. And I'll be back in a few minutes. But you know, it kind of solves that problem with money under your feet.
Yeah, it's basically World War I with
Base dug out. Let's build that other set. Meal lice. Or mealwood. As far as it goes, putting doors down everywhere, it's a little bit of overkill. I probably don't even need to do that, but I just like it. One advantage to it is, but I like, I'm the kind of person who likes to max out stats. Okay, so I must not assigned that one before, and this I messed up on. Okay, oh, we're not at full speed. There we go.
I'm down.
Ooh.
Reloading.
Oh no.
Reloading. Down the hostile escorting. Reloading.
In case you need a hand.
Can't believe I'm standing still. You're lucky I like you.
Thanks.
huh? I don't know what any of this stuff does. Down we go. There's a box. Are we left with no Raventails? Oh no, okay.
Let me handle this.
Yeah! Woo! Even through all that, Mom. Even through all that, I won the round. Because my team is cool.
You are the Apex champions.
Ah. Ah. Man, that was mean. Hey, no, stop. Stop hitting, stop, no. Okay, I need you guys to see what she...
Alright, welcome back. The really annoying file copying is done. Alright, so this is data 254, but we're mostly concerned with program versions on this. And then the most recent settings I've got are here. And I've got a version of One Life. Well, it's Arctic for sure. We may have a match. Oh, I guess the things with pine trees being near each other kind of makes sense. Oh, desert and jungle might make the resources nice, but we've got very small deserts. I mean, they'll probably burst out in places. And then down to a valley somewhere. I mean, yeah, be livable. We'll have to see how it plays out. Or I'm now completely lost track of. I kind of went up this way somewhere. Right about there. As we go back this way, there should be some mountain stuff. Or some mixed mountain Arctic. Or Badlands Arctic. Well, spawn isn't necessarily a hospitable spot anymore. So I may have to do something with that for my testing purposes. No idea what seed this was for. Or if that was the final generation. I'd probably have to look up... yeah, it doesn't matter. The later image he did, but I think that it was kind of like this in the sense that somebody was pointing out like all the areas with lots of bears. All right, so we've got a topographic test. Oh, you know what? This is basically biome 0. So this roughly corresponds to where the green was before. For the Arctic. It was about the shape of that starting area. The question is, do we want to leave this in here as some sort of extra experimental thing? Do we... Well, you wouldn't normally do that. You wouldn't actually really put it in with anything useful. And you'd probably want to make sure it was obvious that it was not some real data. Man, this particular seed actually has a lot of the Arctic there. Over here, it's like all mountains. Which I guess if our real seed was like that, that could cover the too many mountains thing, but that's iron, right? Okay, so it looks like we actually do have a little bit of time. One of the things I wanted to play with was just to see if there was alternates to these thin bands. But first, we need to find my console. I might want to do some renaming. You know, it kind of makes sense to follow his stuff where appropriate. But I'm just thinking that the biome order thing, this is more like, in practice, this is a topographic biome map in the sense of what we had before. Now, if we add further biomes, then that's going to change things. That'll still be like the jungle topographic biome map or something. And we're not selecting that by default. All right, so I want to actually, yes, that's that function. So we've got that. I want to do something just something. All right, so Jason wants to force this to be 0, 1. So I don't think he documented the actual range he saw. He could probably back into it from here. The nice thing about the other one was just comparisons. But this is just like kind of observational values, so you could kind of see this going outside of that. And to a certain extent, we did see that going out because it was allowed to continue up beyond that level. So the experiment I want to try, and it's not necessarily going to be as nice as code, so I'm not going to worry about optioning it either, is that we sort of do like, well, okay, sure, we call Arctic mountaintops. We could even have it in the mountains. Maybe swamps in the lowland makes sense. But for all this stuff that bans, I'm wondering if you could do that with the secondary layer. So we're just going to probably brute force code for experimental purposes. So we've got biome weight. Now he was using cumulative biome weight, so we could probably develop something like that. So this is like water, green, plains. These are desert, jungle, mountain. I guess that the Arctic is to give lots of oil? Or because those things are partly cut off. So if I actually did this as a pre-computed cutoff points, that would sort of take care of some of the stuff. All right, so we've got a scale. I don't know if num biomes is relevant anymore. I guess you kind of want to expand things as you need more rings. However, one thing I'm going to want to do is get this straight in my head once and then stop worrying about it. Actually, the color table is in index order. Equals 3. Arctic equals 4. All right. So we get our height map, which that's a fair enough thing. Second place, sure, for now. And then let's just kind of do a first pass at our own little table, try to get it to feel right. And we're just going to kind of hack this up. And he was saying like 0.09 was the lowest he'd seen. Then, actually, this part could potentially be a little table. It's just... Oh, these are biome names, not biome indexes. Oh, but these are indexes into that topographic table, so it's... These are indexes into the topographic table. So that does totally break that. Well, how about topographic biome map? There. Now we can just use biome names. We do have to do and this depends on picked biome, so you can't just do a return easily. Equals swamp. Else if height less than this might actually be where we want to do the medium layer. And we're going to want the medium layer to be a lot bigger, but starting point. And else yeah, I'm not sure anything else makes super sense as a highland, lowland kind of thing. I mean, I could kind of see jungle being near swamp, but it's just going to leave a lot of Arctic, so I probably want to do this more like 8. And then this thing in the middle, okay, well, just to see that this does what we think it does. So topographic, we've got topographic test, which I would have to change a little bit. But I could just reassign it. Oop. Okay, yeah, so the ranges are a little bit off. So now default into that, please. And this is the testing that he was, or the tweaking that he was doing. So this is actually not enough. And that's not enough. And that was a whole lot of oh, no, actually this did end up being the biggest thing. So really we'd want more like this. Okay, almost seems like too much Arctic. Then again, you do have to find oil. Somebody that was to make sure it was frequent enough. So then what I wanted to do was, so what do we got? We've got jungle, we've got desert. We've got plains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So that, yeah, that, well, and then that would have to be mixed up with the green. So I still might need to do something special with green. But, and I don't technically need to do this every time, but I know Factory had a thing that was humidity. So if we do here, we say if humidity then picked biome equals desert. Actually, try to make this smaller because desert shouldn't be that common. I feel like I misspelled this. Humidity. Else, if humidity is, I'm gonna need to change these numbers, but let's see. So we go from desert to plains. So the adjacencies might not make sense here. So that's something we're gonna have to think about. To green, and if all else fails, then it's very human and it's a jungle. Oh, because I'm not changing my seed. So we'll probably still need more swamp. I could potentially do like a sort of cross matrix of like humidity and height or something as well. Maybe get some different patterns. But you couldn't still get things like this because they're unrelated. And then these aren't necessarily near that. But you do get you get some of these larger areas, which are kind of cool. And actually, the green turned out kind of okay in total area. But everybody wants the green near the swamp. I guess you could do Arctic opposite from mountains. So I guess the other thing to consider would be like, I don't know. Well, this is where these little if tables don't hold up. Because you almost want something like the Factorio system, which I actually think I brought up in this thread. Somewhere for ease of finding it. Although I don't know what page it ended up on. I don't think I actually realized there were more pages when I posted it. There we go. So they do humidity and ox. Plus the cliffs and stuff. So yeah, so this is kind of what I'm, and then their biome interaction test, which actually this is not a terrible idea for this kind of thing. I guess there's some noise on top of it. But yeah, they have this kind of table. And they also seem to have tweaked their generator so that it definitely does 0 1s consistently. Whereas the noise, the layered noise apparently does not do that. I'm not sure how they handle these conflicts. There must be a priority to it. So something like this, which I'm not entirely sure how you code that. Well, nicely anyway. I guess you could just have one big if statement and then it's making some decisions in certain cases. Or maybe you have a table of ranges that are defining these boxes. And you just have to make sure that the boxes cover everything. So something like that. So I mean, like the obvious ones, we've had height. What if we did temp and humidity? Then you almost have to restart your table. And you'd want to pick things. Well, you'd pick some ranges where you'd kind of like things to be, but that doesn't guarantee you've covered every area. Do I have a good way to do this? This isn't actually. How about I want to be able to move things around. Okay, apparently we had this full screen. So if we define a space, I think I need you. And then if we say that this is, let's see, so they don't really define what this is, but we've got sand and desert and grass. So it feels like this was humidity, and that was like, well, it's ox for them. So if we say that's humidity, then you'd have like, because you need saturation, lightness. So we'd have like you, and we'd have jungle on the humid side. And we'd have I'm not sure exactly how to find this color right now, but a desert somewhere on the dry side. We'd want a big area that was green. Probably want a pretty big area that is prairie. And a little bit of area that is mountain. And then somewhere you have to have... Why is that one transparent? Oh, maybe these are all transparent. Not at the color level. Oh, because I've been doing this all on opacity. That was... oh, because we stopped here. I mean, that might actually not be bad for looking at overlap areas. I'm kind of throwing off my color sense, though. Eh. So you're going to be dry and hot. Green would be in the middle. Oops, I didn't want another one. I just want selection now. Arctic would do a big chunk of the cold. I guess you'd kind of expect Arctic to be... desert to be a bunch of the hot. I mean, maybe it should actually be sort of a diagonal thing. This feels slightly moister than the plains. I mean, temperature-wise, in-game, they're like all the same. And mountains, Badlands, and you're also kind of in between. So this might be a thing like Factorio where you kind of want the nested rectangles effect. So like dry and hot is desert, and it kind of tapers off as you go out. I guess you could sort of define like distance domains to like centers of this and do the one that's closest. But you just kind of figure out what the ideal spot for each one is. You might be able to pick those centers such that... you see, now I need like a totally different algorithm. I need like a Venori diagram type of thing. I don't suppose there's an online tool for that. Is it Venori? Verani. Okay, different distance metrics. We could maybe simplify things a little bit there. Radial growth, algorithms. But that's for the entire diagram. We just want to. All right, so we now know that it's a Verani. Apparently, I didn't copy. Is there a... interactive tool? organization. Upload a file or enter a URL. 3D models. Okay, that's not. Autodesk App Store. Huh. I'm not seeing. Interactive diagram. Okay, it is just a toy. So we do not have an easy thing. We could just drop some points and then see what's closest. And then, like, desert obviously is a hot and dry kind of thing. Oh, and we want to make sure that these things... So you would do that by having these two be close to each other? And then with lots of space around them so that they have lots of joint area. So like this probably needs... Jungle is not a major thing that defines iron, so you want some of it. That's going to kind of be... I guess you would call this rocky and therefore less humid. So if these are kind of taken up there, jungle is the hotter, moister version. So you kind of define jungle down at this corner, the hot and wet, hot and dry. Dry and cold. How would you define the waiting for Arctic if it wasn't a point? Because like it's everywhere over here. It's like cold. I mean, arguably it's a little bit moist because you got the snow. Of course, it's all frozen, so it's not actually humid. Very humid and sufficiently cold should always be Arctic, maybe. I mean, maybe there should be some space for this. So that actually kind of gives you a corner, actually. That gives you a corner. So that would be pseudo dry, and then like green to be everything in the middle. That doesn't do anything special for this, but maybe we can tweak how these points interact. Well, this is a box model. But if we did this as distance from 2D points, and maybe you'd want to define multiple points for some of these to do the weighting effect. Yeah, you might still be able to do a weighting effect. All right, so we've got one experiment. This would need some tweaking. So the problem is that right now there's nothing that sort of suggests that green and swamp should go together. Because they're kind of being done on orthogonal dimensions. Now, it sort of solves the banding problem. Maybe less stuff needs to be banded. Or actually, you could define these on, you could sort of do the table thing. Like if we did that, then green is always near swamp, but it could also happen in other scenarios. Yep, height is, oh, right, we started renaming this. So this is always going to have some green around it because it's a living spot. Or I guess this is where you have different subtables for each height. That might create some hard cutoffs. Like you can kind of see the band of this around there, which is why a slightly less digital representation might be nice. It does kind of give you like the watering hole. Yeah, particularly this like has no relationship to those. So if we defined our points in this sort of like humidity temperature space, so I was doing that as temperature, so that would be, we were saying something like this is a first approximation. And actually we already know that the algorithm excludes corners a little bit, so maybe that'll work out. So 0, 0. This has no mnemonic power to it. Well, we can do comments, I guess. Or we could do something like that. Oh no, except that's right, because it's just a table of points. Hello. I've never been completely sure if it's like rcooled or RC something. But welcome. So what we've got right now, rcooled, okay. So this is actually going to be Badlands. So our corners are easy ones. So you would be 1, 0, desert, 1, 1, jungle. I could just use the index here, but this is easier to think about. And 0, 1, Arctic. Well, see, the thing I don't like about his is that this puts Arctic next to swamp, but I guess it's just the point where it freezes. And we want to say, for starters, 0.50 is going to be plains. And Snow Groomer, thank you for the follow. Like watch me type in tables. 0.5 is going to be green, and 0.51 is going to be swamp. So I guess we can kind of keep this around just for kicks. We're going to call this, no, humidity is fine, and temp. And then we're going to go through. This is actually going to be a little bit like the old compete. It is kind of a compete. Compete, map, biome index, where we go through a table. I am making a map for a game called 1 Hour 1 Life. So up until recently, it looked like this. And then this layer where it used to exist more in Nuri, thank you for the follow. And I actually did some screenshot stuff with some modified version of the game client. But for mostly, I'm just working at this biome level right now. So there's been a lot of discussion and thinking and stuff going on with the game. It's evolved over time. So we added an Arctic biome, a desert biome, a jungle biome over time. And then he mixed up the seeds, so my pre-generated tiles no longer worked. And then I don't actually know what these look like. And then, I couldn't do anything. So he has an algorithm that's sort of like this. I don't have any seeds for it, but this is a test of rendering that. And the thing that people have not been liking about this, is this banding effect. We get these very narrow bands of these biomes here. So I was playing around with this algorithm that took the banded areas and did another fractal there to pick it out, and that had some effects I didn't want. So now I'm trying a sort of a thing like Factorio's system where they have a two-dimensional fractal. So they've got humidity and alt or aux. It's to find a table like this. I want to try something a little bit like this. I'm starting, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I got some time today to play around with it. So I'm going to try a very, very simple, and I'm just using this to approximate it, like a kind of a nearest point type of thing. And I guess I could do Manhattan distance to be a little bit more like this. The game is 1 hour, 1 life. The procedural generation algorithms, this is probably one of my most common places, are in the open source version of the engine. No. I just hack on it because because the game and the data are very open source. It's created by Jason Rohr. So yeah, and that will probably have more information on him. You can buy the game here. It has also got re-released on Steam. Yeah, he did one stream a while ago, about creating a sheep, but he doesn't stream all that much. All right, so this is looping through, comparing values, picking a first place. That's exactly what we need right now. It's a little bit less expensive to compute because we're not doing a fractal every time. And we have, what do we just call this, biomes for being lazy? For trying stuff out. Right, because he's using that for the seed. Sure, that lets me be easier. We don't need a seed, we don't need a rand val. We do need to find, so we've got a temp and humidity. We need a distance. And I mean, even Manhattan distance is probably fine for a first test here. And that is, because it's just a comparison. So we did... So we were just lazy and used indexes. So we've got, it was XY, so we did temp. And I guess for it to be distance, this would still have to be abs. Temp minus biome 0, and I guess these should individually be abs. Plus humidity minus biome 1. So we're going to say if distance greater than max value, we now need a max value again. And this could actually give us a second place biome. I don't know if I want to... Oh, max value was like negative... Gosh. Number dot... max value. So I'm just not going to deal with you right now. You are also second place. Oops. That only really affects object placement. And picked biome is going to be biome 012. This is not max value though. This is like nearest value. This actually does want to be max value. Colors V is undefined. Probably because we picked -1. That at least gives us a reasonable default. Okay, so that is not doing reasonable. This is not doing reasonable results. Yeah, it's gone through a lot of changes since then, in part due to the terrain generation, in part due to the fact that everyone is now living in this box. Also, this is really, really more expensive than I thought it would be. Oh, this is biomes.length. I have no idea what that does. Colors V is undefined. All right. Console.log. We did this as temp. Humidity. And we are just going to do one of these. Well, I mean, you can ask. I don't have to answer. Hey, Demonic. Make sure we're getting the biome we're getting and that the distance makes any kind of sense. All right, so right now it's a deck. It has light up keys. It's nice because if I'm doing stuff at night, I can see. Because of that, I had it on this computer. I stopped using the Unicomp, which is also much louder, possibly not as good for streaming. Yeah, so yeah, there's lots of issues with the smaller space. One being that you can't. There were some mechanics that made it less likely for people that got killed or cursed to be next to you in a future life, and now we're all in this space, so it's pretty easy to find your way back. Okay, so these are... I'm getting pairs of numbers. I guess I need to tag my outputs here. Well, I mean, I'll have to see next time I get in. Why did that change the behavior? Okay, so that made it do an array. Oh no, that is the biome being printed out. All right, so we picked two random numbers that happen to be very centered. Biomes. Oh, this is apparently before I defined these things. Well, taking breaks definitely helps. Sometimes you just need to get up and walk around, make sure you got water. Other than that, I mean, everyone's different, I guess. I've naturally been kind of an introvert that can sit around and do stuff, and keeping talking kind of helps keep me going. I might need to investigate some other. So how was I using? Oh, because the function had been called yet. All right, just hack this real quick. All right, so now we actually can pick a. Okay, so that's just a fit. Yeah, I'm generally working on stuff I'm fairly interested in, to some extent. All right, so that's reasonable values. We iterate, we pick a distance, and all of these seem to be pretty far. We ended up picking that one. That was biome 0. All right. One Life is open source. This is generally as well. So the map is at one map, which is an uncertain world right now. I probably should have it default to a data layer or something. Oop, and this seems to have gone off the screen. Oh, right, because there are no generated layers on right now. So maybe I should still have that on. So I did have titles on these. That one isn't showing up end. So this would be the front end. Which isn't very well described. I haven't done much in the way of documentation. So yeah, you've got front end, you've got the back end data for the life data points, which you can watch replays. And I've also got my fork of the game that does the tile capture for this stuff, but that might be kind of dead at this point now that he's doing random seeds, and it's not as reasonable to do large snapshots of things when it's changing all the time. Okay, that's interesting. Now, this could be part of the problem, is that I did a lot of stuff that was kind of towards the extremes, and we saw that the numbers weren't doing a lot of extremes. I'm still surprised that it is this extreme. Now, I am doing Manhattan distance. That might not be helping. So I guess we should do that for real. Oop. So we've got you. What is it? It's math.pow to math.pow to these have to be added, and then math.square root. That didn't change a whole lot. So it might be that it just does very middling values. I guess I could actually like move all these surrounding points in. That would make them closer. Actually, we need to move them in on all fronts. So maybe it is like... Yeah, so one of the problems with this method is it's very hard to tune. So actually, let's... 1, 2... Oh, this is actually the 0.9. Oh, so I see... I'm going to end up with zeros. Which makes it harder to update the other zeros. How about 0, comma with 0.1, comma? It expands them a little bit. Well, you're getting this effect that these humid things are together and these drier things are together. But it is a very centered fractal. Eight, 7. This is more approaching our original biome type. Yeah, so you can have the frozen, moist areas. So having the Arctic always near swamps, I'm not sure makes sense. Where's our graphic? Really, it should probably be near that more. Which would mean kind of plus up. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but thank you for the follow. So I guess if I kind of want to move these down, and maybe we move this over a little bit to leave more room for that to join up. I guess I don't necessarily need more of those biomes, but... Because we want more of this conjunction area. So this is like super cold. Yeah, this doesn't... I think I could probably expand... Well, these are already getting big. We are starting to encroach on some of the green a bit. It's a biome you want a lot of. But oh yeah, you can kind of see the cold centers with the... Would swamps necessarily be near an Arctic area, though? I guess I don't know enough about realistic terrain. Actually, yeah, the mountains and Arctic do have some similarity in terms of trees. But to do them with this, well, I could do it in a system like Factorio where it's like just an imaginary ox that you use to put things how you want to see them. But both temperature and humidity kind of make sense for placing deserts and jungles and stuff. I might be able to do, well, certainly by positioning some of the other points, I can do some, as we saw, some weighting of how often they appear. So like we could make Arctic less common. We could make deserts less common. It's not really all that different from the original map, I guess. If we, man, it's like we have to make these so big. And we're probably getting down to more subtlety than this. In terms of the, no, 7, they're like right on the edges of that green, just owning the, yeah. So that's making the green kind of our band area, I guess. It's like the in-between space left over by the edges. Yeah, so that's getting too big. Now what we might want to do is to specifically put down, might want some more tuning here, but like Badlands, Desert, Jungle, Arctic, and then we've got our, and maybe even Badlands, because that was one of the original core biomes, should be up. But leaving, yeah, leaving the plains up. It's a lot of those. Maybe a little bit too many of those. But that would back everything back to that point. So these are starting to get down to the finer tuning. It's probably one of the reasons Jason rescaled stuff. Is this a better play area? I don't know. You'd have to implement it in game to run around. I guess I'd end up with jungles near deserts a bit. So nothing about the current system tends to give you that sort of mountaintop area with the pine trees. Yeah, so you can kind of tell it's a different system than the old system. So that's Jason's map. We got the big, well, this area has lots of Arctic. Other areas don't necessarily have lots of Arctic. So this has the heavy banding. I don't currently didn't keep around a layer for my other one, which actually the other one kind of looked okay. I just didn't necessarily agree with all the adjacencies. So this does have a lot of green next to the important biomes. And there's mountains out there. So having the other biomes take over the extremes kind of makes sense. I'm still not sure about calling Arctic humid, though. How would we want this to move over here. And there'd just be a bunch more jungle. So if we move Arctic, let's see, that is in the humidity layer, because that's going to bring it closer to mountain. Or we bring mountain down a little bit too. Or Badlands. So what if we just brought those two closer together? Wait. Oh no, that was the other one. So you go to 4. You go to 6. That makes them more likely to appear together, so you would get the pines. I guess we added a lot of swamp, but I guess they're just swampy areas. And this might be too big of an area. Where is... So yeah, and this is probably about the typical size of a town, actually. I just need to search. Get me some default data. See, are you hooked up to data right now? There we go. Except I have this thing that overrides it whenever I play with time, even though I want to play with time here. So I'd have to override that. So that, I mean, these are all time overlaid, but you can kind of get a sense of a settlement size playing out against this. So these are some very big swamps right now. And yet... you want to make sure there's enough of them to be near the green. So this might... And one of the complaints people had that sort of drove this whole revolution was that, well, there's only so many spots that are good. Because they have green and blue next to each other. So this does tend to put green in between... I mean, I guess green... This kind of leaves green as the ribbon. I am making maps for a game by Jason Rohr called 1 Hour, 1 Life. So I started out just mapping the game itself, however, he then changed the seeds. I've gotten one of them since then. Might be able to get more by this point. And I do make some mods for it. This is not a mod. This is an online map that is about the game, I guess. But yeah, the game is made by Jason Rohr. And then so he recently changed it to do a system like this, which has this really heavy banding effect, which makes for some very thin biomes. So I've been playing around with some alternate stuff. I don't know that it's particularly better. Well, it's different. I don't know if it'd be good to play on. Actually, I might need to... Well, I need to implement similar to some of the code he did that measures the percentage of the map. Because it's relatively concentrated, this might actually be too bad for Arctic, but it feels... I guess... This might be a focused spot right there. Like, this has no Arctic. They probably did get moved in a little bit just because... So maybe then the Arctic, having gone in there, can go out there. So it's not quite as prevalent. You still want some mountains or badlands for iron and stuff. They're not livable per se, but they do have important resources. I guess that's kind of comparable coverage. But I almost need to make like separate layers for my different tests here to make them easier to compare. All right, so if we want to back this out, we're going to have multiple layers. So I've just had one function right now. We need to be able to have multiple functions. Oh, and this system can't compute a second place biome. We're not using that in our map right now. So we've got, well, there's kind of two variations here of the one. Which could perhaps be reduced to a table. So one of these is the temp humidity model, which doesn't need any of this. One of these is the strip variation model, which, let's see, we had a height and humidity when I was doing this. Now this is a model of this that has this extra little bit of green to bring the stuff together, to bring the green and the grass and the swamp together. So custom, I'm calling it custom test so far. So this is temp humidity test. That's the same, that's the same, that's the same. We have I guess these don't need to be tested as much. Strip variation. I guess we can default to that if we're picking multiple things. So we've got his topographic test, that one. Oh, too hacked up. So probably we had to like declare picked biome equals like -1. I'm not even using weights in any of these. So this just needs more blue. Strip variation. So this is actually the tweaked strip variation. That might be too much blue. I want it to be 3-5, so that can be 4-5. So that tries to guarantee we have green and blue together. Oh, this has very little desert. So there's that 0.3 again. Oh, you don't need a lot of desert, but maybe more than that. Likewise, jungle is super scarce. That's definitely a big jungle down there. Well, that has more visible patterns to it. This model doesn't necessarily feel like it has the patterns to it. I mean, it's obviously different than this. I guess it does guarantee more green, which you could have done by weighting the green layer. And the tweak on this was this. Oh, because maybe that's why we had the smaller values before, because that was like putting in a bunch of extra green. The desert's fine. Jungle. Well, jungle is only going to be plains? Why is jungle not next to plains? I know plains green, green jungle. So if we're going humidity... Oh, green is next to plains and jungle. Like, it's not being next to desert is good. But you really want to guarantee that it's next to water. Yeah, I'm not... I guess I'm not sure if there's any relationship between jungle and swamp in the sense like one should be deeper than the other. Oh, I could also play with the roughness and scale parameters on these. So that would be one way to mix things up. So like maybe one of these should have larger arcs than the other. Temp humidity. Which way would you do that? Well, for this one, I'm not. It might be a little bit weird to mix that up. Okay, well. Oh, that was the roughness, not the scale. So yeah, that creates much cleaner lines in one direction, which is kind of weird. And you got the rougher lines over there. So actually, I think I was just you want to do like scale. Which I guess just kind of mixes up everything a little bit. Yeah, so that predictably that leads to bigger biomes overall. Doing it in asymmetrically in dimensions is a little bit weird. I guess it keeps your hot areas from your cold areas. And then you've got the moisture variation. That might actually be more useful in the height map one. So maybe this one should actually be less rough. Oh. That's very less rough. Oh, yeah, so you can see this being defined by height. And then the patterns in the other area still having a very strippy effect, but it's much clearer to see which pattern is which now. If we did these, I don't know if it should be a bigger or smaller scale. Yeah, that's probably too big of a scale. And if it went down, then things get very, very patchy. Now, one thing I tried to do with this is give a very wide strip because we're going to do lots of variation in it. If we did this more like there, that might be too much of that stuff. Okay, yeah, that's way too much. But then you kind of, yeah, because it's not necessarily orthogonal to the other grid. So it's not so much variation in a stripe. Well, if you want variation in a stripe, you do the smaller scale. Okay, so swamp was way too much. And then our in-between area gets variated. So green should generally be kind of between blue and mountain. Height-wise. So right now we're doing desert and jungle in that in-between space. Perhaps it should be that these like mountains should vary. So that you don't get the narrow strips of desert and Arctic and the like not immediately necessary stuff. So let's try and get this. Well, I don't have a. I haven't set this up for good parameterization. So you've got a little variation in whether you do. This was originally. Okay, so there's that parameter. Whether you do that to kind of mix up the in-between space and still have these mountains, which doesn't. I'm not sure I'm liking this. And then this puts in the extra green around. The water or the swamp to sort of guarantee those are together. And I think that's kind of where I want to go, but with a different system. So maybe what I actually need to do is just have like a biome picking function. So that was strip variation. This is like peak variation. Where our table says we want to guarantee, say, swamp green plains as our core stuff. That's going to be too big, but we'll work on it. Maybe pull this down like here. And I think this just becomes the else. I could also do some of this variation like in the center of the peaks and the valleys, so to speak. So we say desert. Don't want plains, don't want you. We need badlands. And we need Arctic. If it's humidity, desert, jungle, Arctic jungle doesn't make sense. Desert Arctic doesn't make sense. I guess you do Arctic, jungle. This is kind of similar to what he did. And that's still a determiner of 4 things. So this is really more of a temperature than humidity. Missing in parenthetical. Aha. But I haven't used this function anywhere. Strip variation. Peak variation. Okay, we bungled our numbers there. All right, so swamp to green to plains. How? Okay, so plains is too big. Oh, that actually did get. Oh. Okay, so that explains that. Okay, so we've got our green bracketed by our core biomes. Although these end up looking a little bit weird. I mean, it definitely creates some variation within the space that's not pure strippy for a sort of minor biomes. Let's go. Might need some weight adjustments. You almost want to say that each one of these should be a different kind of thing. And maybe messing with like smoothness and scale would get more of that effect. And you can tell there's the orthogonal thing, but just having it in the peaks actually makes it kind of weird. Other option would be to do like peaks and valleys. I could see swamps going into jungles. In the deep swamps. And then having like inhospitable mountains. That seems like it had less effect than I expected. So your green is still strippy, but the green wasn't a big problem. It was really like some of the other things that needed to be brought together. All right, so experiments right now, and I still kind of need to do a variation on this one. Based on whether we add that little extra test to guarantee, which is kind of what peak variation is really supposed to fix. Because really that was supposed to guarantee, I mean, they're close pretty often. Jungles are maybe too big. Oh, 0.6 green. That's obviously a very popular number space. I almost want to say you want to lock like desert and Arctic in the centers. But that'll put desert next to Arctic. Because that's kind of what this is trying to do. And it separates them with Badlands and Jungle. Okay, so some parts get the Badlands. Just if there's if a steep gradient, you get a lot of the Arctic. And I was really kind of hoping that this model would get things more like that. Of course, maybe we needed something more nuanced along the lines of what Factorio's doing than just the point nearness system. Because they did seem to get... Well, I think they're putting some additional variation, because they've got like this... Maybe they're just doing that with a little bit of noise on it. It's like gradient plus noise. I guess it is very squarish. Well, I don't think I have time to rebuild the tables. So this has decent adjacency here. I'm just not... it doesn't look nice, as nice from a perspective like this. Maybe with some size tweaking, it could be okay to play on. 'Cause that's the real test. So really this is the first test. What if we made bigger strips and varied what was in them? There's so many ways to do this. If I carried on, I should probably turn it into some sort of data-centric thing. But what if... peak variation... I guess this is really kind of a strip variation variant. What if we did... Green Valley, such that in a pretty large area we had green. Around that we had a band of other important biomes. And this is kind of like peak again, where you put the hostile stuff up top. So like you don't really need desert. You don't really need jungle. You only need small amounts of them. I guess you made them small enough. So for step one, I need swamp somewhere. Well, this had the green, so this kind of swaps with you. We need to adjust ratios. So strip variation. Peak variation. Oh, did I call this Green Valley variation? Yes, I did. Yeah, fine. So that has this far away from the Arctic. Not necessarily far away from the desert. Oh, maybe I need like a 2-stage ring. Because that was the problem, like the desert and the jungles were all on top of each other. So maybe that would actually just be kind of the fix, just do it for that little bit. Could you then do mountains as mixed Badlands Arctic? So we've got green, we've got you. So somewhere in here, we've got a point. I don't know what that point is. But it is going to kind of split this up. And this might be a simple if-else. where we have, and I don't even know if you want to call it humidity anymore, where we have swamp or plains, and then we have desert or jungle. Okay, we left an else somewhere. Else if, else if, else. Else if. 424. Ooh, why aren't... Because we lost it here. All right, so Green Valley's surrounded by their immediate niceties. Then we have, beyond those, we have desert and jungle. So actually, Badlands is sort of, maybe if I adjusted the ratio a little bit. So Badlands were like the immediate neighbor stuff. And then Arctic and Desert. S24 Sammy, thank you for the follow. And then just you have this awkward thing where you kind of have deserts and Arctic in like that next layer. Well, desert, Arctic, and jungle. All mixed up in the next layer. Makes me wonder if your primary gradient should be like a temperature thing. I guess doing the temperature primary, I mean, at some level it might kind of turn into this. Because this can still kind of have all kinds of crazy adjacencies. So the nice thing about this is it lets you specify that green is going to be surrounded in all kind of alternating weird patterns by your most important survival biomes. Actually, this makes iron quite the quest. I guess I could mix a little bit of Badlands in there too. But I'm wondering if you shouldn't do like desert to Arctic, and then you have some bands of stuff in between. But now green's back to being a band. And we sort of know what it looks like if you just have the extreme areas mixing everything up. I guess this gives you lots of green surface area, but not as much of a focused, like, living area. Is this... So this is sort of like the most, I don't know, real-ish model in terms of, well, I'm still not sure about Arctic being here, but for a temp humidity model, that's kind of it. So we've got, if we change it to mixing up all the stuff in the middle, if we sort of jam together all the stuff at the peaks, and if we sort of focus on having our green areas with our other necessary biomes, these might almost be a little bit too big. Actually, looking at overall proportions, that probably is too big. I guess that the... Oh, actually, yeah, this is 6 to 5. So we want to... we could fill it with a little bit of this. Oh, no, that's... No, that's 4 Swamp Plains. So if we bring this down... Did that? No, that's the desert. It's increasing desert jungle. Well, I wanted to increase desert jungle. Oh, this is giving you the... No, that's encroaching in from a... Wait, less than 605. Oh, yeah, that's... Yeah. Let's make it smaller. So that moves you down, creating more space for that? Yeah. Could possibly increase screen some more. Ooh, look at all that desert and jungle now. Maybe we do actually need more mountain. Because we do have kind of truncated space as Jason was scaling into it. Why did that change the Badlands Arctic ratio? Oh, because these are straight height. So you're actually going to go more like... No, actually, that's where this thing changes? Maybe? Yeah, because there's very little Arctic then. So that gives you more mountain. If we're counting on Arctic for oil, it's not going to be very much. So that has to go... That might be too much. Was that Green Valleys? Yeah. Oh man, there could be areas with no Arctic at this. Ooh, that did not get good variation. Alright, well, I have to stop messing with this at some point. So I'll need to grab screenshots, see if any of these look promising with further tweaking. Like there's too much desert now. So that means bring that up. Yes, this is a convenient way to calculate. It's not necessarily a convenient way to work on it. I might almost want to develop some kind of interactive thing if you really want to play with this. All right, I do want to eat lunch at some point. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody who hosted me. Let me see if I can make a recommendation myself. What do we have? Oh, is that? Oh, okay, that's just a Twitch glitch. This is about when I tend to stream. Okay. Well, I guess when I'm working on the procedural generation stuff, if you're interested in that, Demian Sky is working on a procedurally generated sphere, and I thought this was hard. Oop. Is it running, or is he just ending up? Okay, there we go. Which seems, bringing the spheres into that just seems absolutely madness for me, to me. But yeah, if you're looking for someplace cool to hang out, that is some more interesting procedural generation stuff. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye, and until next time.